We are live on YouTube. Madam Chairwoman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The meeting will now come to order at 5:31 p.m. Roll call, please.
Oh, I'll call.
Mr. Gorham, will you call the roll? You're on mute.
Unmute.
You're on mute, Nick.
Nick, you have to unmute yourself so we can hear your jokes.
That's right.
Yeah.
You look pretty
Sorry
good.
about that. I unmuted and then I muted. Sorry about that. James LeBlanc.
Here.
Jennifer Ludwig.
Here.
Kimberly Shockley.
Here.
Ann Dixon.
Here.
Gary Cody.
Here?
Thank you. Do I have a motion to go into an executive session?
I'll make that motion, Madam President.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley. All in favor, just raise your hand.
Specify the grounds, please.
Roll call.
A roll call.
Mrs. Dixon, you have to specify the grounds for going into executive session.
It's best to simply read verbatim the agenda.
Okay, the purpose of the meeting is to hear an update on the Arnold Road landfill and to review the Second Amendment to landfill closure and bud filling operations contract.
And that's under Title 45, Chapter 46, Section 5, A2 of the Open Meetings Act, to be specific.
Thank you.
Litigation, yes.
Do I have a motion to go into executive session? We'll go through that again. Do you want me to
Motion.
repeat that?
It should be a roll call vote.
Okay, roll call vote, please. Mr. Gorham?
James LeBlanc,
Yes.
Kimberly Shockley,
Yes.
Jennifer Ludwig,
Yes.
Gary Cody,
Yes.
President Dixon.
Thank you. Yes.
2 seconds and you will reset.
And I have never done roll call. Gary, when is the asphalt season over?
Today,
Is that
Today?
right?
today,
Well, no wonder you're in such a good mood.
today.
Today.
Asphalt season over today. Florida starts February 15th.
Hey, we are live on YouTube. We are live on Zoom. And we are recording the meeting.
Do I make a motion to close the executive session now, Ed?
Yes, you would.
Okay. Do I have a motion to close the executive session?
Madam President, if it please the council, I'd like to make a motion to close the executive session.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A roll call vote, please. Mr. Barham?
Yes, thank you, Ms. President. James LeBlanc,
Yes.
Kimberly Shockley,
Yes.
Gary Cody,
Yes.
Jennifer Ludwig,
Yes.
President Dixon.
Yes. The motion passes. It is now 6:21.
I think there should also be a motion to seal the minutes of the closed session.
Would that come during the public session or no?
Yeah, it would come during the public session.
Okay, thank you.
I think aren't we in public
You're in
session?
public session. You would do it next.
Okay,
You seal it after you come out of it, just like you are now.
all right.
And I am looking for my clerk.
It would just be a motion to seal the minutes of this and just to seal the minutes of this closed session.
Okay. Do I have a motion to seal the minutes of this executive session?
Madam President, I'll make the motion to seal the minutes of the executive session.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Roll call vote, Mr. Gorham?
Member Ludwig,
Yes.
Member LeBlanc,
Yes.
Member Shockley, Member Shockley,
You're on mute.
Yes.
Member Cody,
Yes.
President Dixon.
Yes. Okay, thank you. We ready to begin the public session now?
If we could wait 1 second while Mrs. Lavoy comes in.
Okay.
Mrs. Lavoy, can you hear us?
I can. I'm trying to get on.
You're on now, but I haven't got your video. I do not have your video.
Mr. Town Manager, I thought we were in public session. That's why we just voted to seal the minutes. I believe that has to be done in the public session in order to be effective. So,
Correct.
And I was going to call the meeting to order, then have a roll call, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then
Okay.
come out of the executive session and seal the minutes.
Thank you.
Are we all set, Mr. Warzycha?
We are, ma'am.
Thank you. This meeting will now come to order at 6:23 p.m. Welcome to our community members who have signed into Zoom for this meeting. Ms. Lavoy, will you please take the roll?
Ian Dixon,
Yes?
Jennifer Ludwig,
Yes.
James LeBlanc,
Yes.
Gary Cody,
Yes.
Kimberly Shockley.
Yes.
Thank you. Will you please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Town Council met in executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42465A2 pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation. We met to discuss the Arnold Road landfill update and to review the Second Amendment to landfill closure and bud filling operations contract. Discussion of status with Attorney Joseph Farside. I will report that no votes were taken during the executive session. It is our pleasure to welcome Mr. Murray. We are on agenda item B4. I'm sorry, B3. Mr. Warzycha. I'll call on Mr. Warzycha to speak about the Economic Development Commission, which is in our charter, section 1340, and in our Coventry Code, Article 2, section 15-14 to 15-23. In addition to membership from the public, I will also appoint a member of the town council to be on this commission at a later date. Mr. Warzycha, will you please discuss the Economic Development Commission for us, please?
I want everybody to know that we are looking to reconstitute this commission. It's been a number of years since we've had it. It's something that is sorely needed. We had some minor success with the last time. I think there needs to be a bigger effort put into it. We've got to try and get as many talented individuals to apply for this commission as possible. The applications for it are on the website under boards and commissions applications. I'm also going to be posting a new one right on the front page. So if anybody's interested there, as well as we are going to put an ad in the paper in reference to this, that we're looking to get people onto this board or commission. So the sooner we can get a number of applicants, the sooner we can get this board started to try to bring this town into the 21st century. So that's where we're looking to go to, and I'm hoping that we have people out there that are interested in joining.
Thank you, Mr. Warzycha. I would ask every member of the town council to recommend business leaders in the community to fill out an application and apply to be on the Economic Development Commission. When we receive the applications, we will vet each individual who has applied, and we will select the members for the commission.
Actually, Madam Chair, it's the town manager chooses those commission members.
Okay, I thought it was town manager and town council, but that's fine. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're on item B4. Mr. Luke Murray is a member of the Coventry School Committee and the chairperson of the School Building Committee. He is asked to provide a short presentation about the work of the School Building Committee. Welcome, Mr. Murray.
Good evening, Madam President. Thanks for having me. I'm going to share my screen quick. Ed, could you give me a capability, please?
Give me 2 seconds, sir. You got it, sir.
All right. Can everybody see my screen and that slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, thanks for having me again for another council update on the School Building Committee Stage 2 effort. Hopefully you all had a chance to review the video that I produced a couple weeks ago for the update that I wasn't able to give due to the inclement weather. I'll try to keep this brief. I know I only have 10 or 15 minutes to go through, so without further ado, I'll move forward. So the last update really focused on the Alan Sean Feinstein Middle School, the effort the School Building Committee had done there, along with the architect from architecture firm Studio J. This was the concept that had been preferred by the School Building Committee and that the architect continues to perfect as he moves through the process, and I'll discuss a little about that in a minute. So this was just an image from that plan, and we were really excited to move this forward. Again, this is going to be sort of the cornerstone of our submission for the Stage 2, but is not the only thing that we're continuing to focus on. So key items since our last update, we have had a School Building Committee meeting. It was very productive, and this one really focused on the district-wide enhancements and other strategies, which we'll go over in a minute. And that's buildings other than ASFMS. So we really wanted to make sure that we had a discussion about the other schools, because we have made clear that although the majority of our effort has focused on the middle school, we do want to touch every facility. And so that's something important for us going forward, and we wanted the architect to weigh in on. In addition, the architect had a meeting on the 9th, which I also attended, with Alan Sean Feinstein Middle School teachers, staff, and administrators to talk about various things, but primarily the interior layout of the building shell that I had mentioned, that concept, which is shown here. And then we have a meeting set up with PFM, thanks to the town manager and town finance director tomorrow. We'll be discussing a variety of topics, but really looking at the how we work potential financing on the project, and also potential reimbursements, which we'll go over in a minute. So I talked about the district-wide enhancement strategy. Well, what does that mean? All of the other schools beyond the middle school, and which is shown here. So obviously Western Coventry, Washington Oak, Black Rock Elementary, the high school, Tioga, and Hopkins Hill. One thing I want to preface is that we know we've been discussing about the elementary schools on the eastern side of town, other than Washington Oak, may be ripe for some sort of potential, and I say potential, consolidation in the future. We don't know yet. That's a larger discussion with the community that needs to be had. Some may be for that, some may be against. So I want to be very clear that's not on the table as part of this effort. But I do think it has to weigh in at this point as part of a larger strategy, because we need to make sure that we're thoughtful in how we spend our dollars, if we're going to spend our dollars. So, you know, with that thinking in mind, you'll see as we kind of go through some of the iterations and what the architects have proposed. So just to revisit, we're considering the project scope, size, and programmatic needs with obvious funding limits, which we always have. But it's also important, and this is the conversation we'll have tomorrow, how does that weigh with our debt cliffs and other smart strategies for the reimbursement? We obviously have logistical constraints, you know, every time we touch a building, you may have to move a class or the whole school. So do we have the capability to do that and displace those students? So some of the district-wide enhancements that we've talked about at our previous meeting with the architect are what they call high-impact visual enhancements at the school sites. So the architect really weighed in on a few items. One of them is painting all the schools, and I'm talking about a full paint package, not put a little paint on the walls and call it a day. This is painting inside and out, very thorough, that will hopefully maintain these buildings over the next 5 to 10 years. Ceiling replacements, lighting upgrades, so moving the LEDs where we don't have them. Again, that affects our operational costs moving forward, because obviously energy costs money. We can save that money. Minor exterior upgrades to parking areas. There's some deficiencies in the parking areas as far as ADA, potholes, etc. And select ADA improvements. Americans with Disabilities Act, making sure we comply with federal law. The other thing you hear a lot about is NEASC, New England Association of Schools and Colleges. They just submitted their report, their 10-year report this past March, and it identified the gymnasium floor, the bleachers, and typically the HVAC, which some of that's going to get taken care of now as part of the COVID-related strategies as issues. And while the gymnasium floor may not seem like a priority, what was presented, one of the concerns was focusing only on visual enhancements, other than other high priority needs. And we know we have many. I mentioned specifically the well at Western Coventry, which is in very sad shape. And my point being, I don't want to paint the walls and then have the well go down after we've already spent substantial money. So, and there was other comments along those lines from the committee for other individual schools. I think he got the message, and we'll incorporate that in the strategies moving forward. There was also comments about whether we should invest more in high school, given discussions over again at this point. Like I said earlier, we also have to balance how much we intend to spend, knowing that we have a cornerstone project at the middle school that we want to move forward with. And then we did agree with the concept of limiting investments at the elementary schools until a larger strategy is determined. Now, I say limited, that doesn't mean we don't do any strategies. That just means we need to be smart with our funds and not overspend, knowing that we may have to look at either larger enhancements, improvements within the next 15 years, or, like I said, that consolidation strategy. So one of the last things, and I'll kind of go through this, the reimbursement. We went through this pretty extensively, and I know this is a key point that you'll want to keep in mind moving forward. We currently get $42.8 back from the state in housing aid. Because of the $250 million bond that was passed by voters a couple of years ago, there are some kickers that allow percentages to be increased. Under the projects that have been identified, we would qualify for 10% additional kickers. The Allen Sean Feinstein Middle School qualifies for the educational enhancements in health and safety deficiency. The CHS also qualifies for these too. Now, not all of the schools qualify for 10%. Some only qualify for 5%. However, you get that percentage across the board. So what the architect has recommended is that we actually include 2 projects in the stage 2. First project is the middle school project standalone. The second project is all of the other schools lumped together. That way they can tag along CHS's 10% reimbursement. So effectively, for all of the sites, we'd be approximately 53% total reimbursement, which is actually very good. The state minimum is 35%. I was shooting hopefully for above 50, and I think we're there. So based on the projects we currently have, we'd be slated over 50% reimbursement. Construction, it moves very slow. So we've talked about a number of strategies going forward on how we deal with schedule. I won't belabor it tonight, but I want directly in the construction industry. They deal with school projects, and I think will be a unique asset to this effort. So we'll be having that meeting in the next couple of weeks to discuss the schedule and ensure we can hit that December date with start of construction. If we were
Luke, do you mean 2021?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, in 3 weeks or?
No. I apologize. Is that what I had on there?
Yes.
Sorry. It's been a long day, and this was, yeah, I apologize. 2021, which, yeah. No, I'm sorry, 2022.
22, yeah.
I'll put good information out there. This isn't it. To clarify, 2022. But if you think about a potential vote, let's say come November, we're going to be well into 2021. That gives us about a year to bake a project and design and get it out for construction. Not too much of a hurdle for the smaller projects, but would be a bigger hurdle for some of the further out. And obviously the correct date matters, so I'll make sure to correct that moving forward. Just some was very productive. I did just have a chance to observe about the interior layout of the middle school based on the current design. So I know there's a thought, and I've had some questions from both council, committee members, have people at the building level, boots on the ground level, weighed in, stage 2. So where do we go from here? Upcoming items. I have asked the town manager to identify a date, and also the council president, to identify a date for a joint meeting of the committee, school committee, town council, and school building committee. I think that'll be a productive meeting where we can present the 75% draft and have everybody in the same Zoom session, because I want to get all the questions on the floor. I think everyone will have questions. I think it's more efficient if we do that in one format. We're going to be meeting with PFM tomorrow to discuss the finance strategies. We're going to be giving ongoing updates to January. So I want you to stay tuned, whether I do those through video or in the normal council format. I know you have a lot of meetings coming up, as do we. So I'll try to make this as efficient as possible on the update. And the school committee, school building committee will be solidifying key projects with the architect, and that's ongoing. So whether it be the middle school or the other projects I identified tonight, we're going to keep working through those to perfect them for the stage 2. So at that point, Madam President, I'll open up for any questions that the council has.
Thank you. Could you remove your slide so I might be able to see all the members? Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any members of the council who would like to ask any questions? Ms. Ludwig.
Thank you. So I know that you've made yourself available in different forums, Mr. Murray. I did have some questions that I had emailed over and in relation to some of the public sessions you made available on Facebook and YouTube. Can people still access that, or how can they access that information at this point? Where can they go to see this?
It's a good question. I did put it in a Google Doc, which I shared back to council and the school committee. And that, hopefully you did receive that link, and your questions and answers were on that sheet. Did you get
They
that?
were, yes.
Okay. So I will make sure that either the link or a static document, I think a static to the public would be best. At least get that out in the social media and some centralized site on our website. And then what I'll do is, as I get questions, I'll continue to make static copies. What I don't want is people just typing away in Google Docs. So, but I will make sure that is made available.
Mr. Murray, is all the documentation on the Coventry School website?
Unfortunately not. I want it to be. As you know, our site is a little bit lacking. I'm going to have a discussion with the school superintendent. We did talk a little bit at last meeting about the new site and whether that would be a more appropriate format. But whatever it is, I need to get it up and publicly available as soon as possible. So,
Mr. Murray, if you send me a copy of all of that data, I will get a page set up on the town's website and get it there, so at least the public will have access to it.
that's excellent. Thanks, Ed.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
And Mr. Murray, just in line with that, how can the public stay involved? Is there a recommendation on how they can provide feedback, or is it just, let's visit the website first and we'll kind of take it after we're able to get the documents out? How do you see them staying involved outside of the people on the immediate committee?
That's another really good question. So one of the things that we're working on right now is that website, which I think would be helpful. I've been actively engaged in social media, in particular Facebook, because it seems to be a pretty good format. So I've been trying to pump out these videos and take any questions I have and encouraging people to email me directly. As we move forward, we're kind of in the nuts and bolts stage here. So a lot of it's the committee trying to work out the plans, and we only have about another month and a half left, which is going to go quick with the holidays. So I want to make sure that we continue to do that, but also get the public outreach. Going beyond the stage 2, because a lot of the stage 2 is kind of nuts and bolts at this point, but I want people to stay involved. We are coordinating an effort for more public engagement, because I want people to know that this is not the last time to weigh in. The stage 2 is specifically a document to present to RIDE with a lot of information to solidify the reimbursement request. But there's going to be a ton of time through the stage 3 as we go forward and leading up to any potential bond to get additional input through the process. So I want people to know that that's ongoing and will be ongoing.
Thank you.
And during the month of February, the first meeting in February, Mr. Murray will be presenting, and we will, as a council, vote to approve the Phase 2 submission to RIDE. That will not require us to commit to any bond at that point in time or to any money, but it will allow us to submit the plan and what we anticipate will be the cost.
Correct.
Mr. Shockley?
Thank you. If we're thinking of making changes to the high school and we don't need to have all those changes until Phase 3, do you think that Mr. Cowart and perhaps other teachers who I know are currently working on curriculum development could help us streamline that plan for the high school? Maybe 2 projects could move forward together where we're improving the curriculum and creating a building that will support it, if there are any changes that we make to the high school?
I would say tentatively yes. So one of the things we're looking at is a science lab. So science labs today are not the traditional science lab of yesteryear. There's not a lot of built-ins, a lot of it's flex space. There's a lot more adaptability. So yes, those spaces in particular could be done in tandem with the curriculum development. As far as the whole school, I would say at this point, we're really looking at those hive-type elements or critical elements that we can fund to say with shorter money, because we know a lot of the money is going to be potentially gobbled up if we move forward with the middle school effort. So, and it's still substantial, but we want to invest in things going to prolong the life of the school. We have made some substantial investments in CHS, But I would say that we always want to try to look at curriculum and the building improvements hand in hand when we can. So that will be part of, in specific, the science lab moving forward.
Other questions from members of the council? Mr. LeBlanc?
Mr. Murray, thank you for your presentation tonight. Really appreciate it. A couple questions. I know you're giving the building committee report, but one of my questions is, if bond is to get passed, are we allowed to use it for sport field, like sport, baseball fields, football fields, anything outside of the building, or is it only going to be allowed for the building construction?
No, that it's a question that comes up quite a bit. You are allowed to spend money on the exterior of the building. So, for instance, in my private practice in a yesteryear, I did a lot of work on the Potter Burns School in Pawtucket. One of the things when I met with Rod and Joe De Silva, he specifically called out the site as an element they did not invest enough money in. And they had actually set aside funds just for the site. So things like parking layout matters, drop-offs, bus drop-offs, they'll weigh in on all that. That is reimbursable. Sports fields, typically, if it's new, a brand new facility, yes. If it's renovations, no. So something like the middle school, one thing would be important. We're going to allocate some funds, obviously a chunk of money for the exterior of the building, but moving forward, whether we want to include any fields at the middle school. We know that there's some there. I don't know how well they are at this point, and that's something I need to follow up on with the rec department and the school department on what actual use has happened there, because fields have exploded in town since, when that field was originally built. So, but yes, it is reimbursable depending on the type of project.
I appreciate the insight on that. And then can you just speak to a little bit about the reimbursement sharing, the ratio? Because I believe it's already gone down once on us, where we could have gotten, I think it was 44, and now we're down to 42.8, I think is what you said, without the additional 10%. So can you just speak to that and where we might be if we don't do anything?
Yeah,
I'm assuming it would go down even more.
I think it's an important point, because we were, when I was originally started talking about these projects, at 44%. And because of revals and formulas, and this is the way the state works, right? They look at the taxing capacity of a community based on income and house values and a variety of other factors. Coventry, I've always said, falls in sort of this weird middle ground. Everybody seems to think we're a wealthy suburban community. It's a very diverse cross-section of Rhode Island. And so we're kind of getting hit on both ends. From the state aspect, they look at our tax capacity as pretty healthy. So one of the things that we could see moving forward, especially with housing prices going a little crazy and houses selling in Coventry, that our state share may continue to go down. And as many know, our funding formula from the state has also been impacted. We've talked earlier this year about the cut we sustained. So I don't know if that's going to go down, but I know for a fact that 10%, that 10% kicker, which is only going to be available that 2022, is likely to go away. And originally I thought that may come back with another bond passage. With COVID and the way the state's budget is, I would highly doubt it. So if we don't take a bite at the apple now, we're going to definitely lose that 10%, I would say, for the foreseeable future. And we may continue to see that housing state share go down, which means that if we undertake this, just to be clear, 5 years from now, and we have no choice because the schools are just falling apart, too bad. It falls on the taxpayers. So that's an important point.
Thank you.
Other questions from the members of the council? Ms. Ludwig?
I just want to check, Mr. Cody, I think I saw your hand raised. Would you like to go before me?
No, I'm all set. I don't have any questions.
Okay. I didn't want to go out of turn. So not a question, but a comment. The drawings looked really cool. So I'm hoping that, some members of the public will start getting engaged. Thank you, Mr. Warzycha, for offering to put some of this out in a location where people can start looking at this. I know we haven't gotten quite into the numbers. That will also be a very important aspect for the people that are asked to approve something like this. So I look forward to the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I would just like to reiterate a comment that I've made when I've been on the committee. As we consider making some improvements at the high school, I would like to see a member of the high school staff be asked to be a member of the building committee. We do not have a high school representative on that committee, and I think it's extremely important as a way to get consensus concerning what we want to do there.
I agree, and it's being worked on.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Any other comments? Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Murray. We appreciate the time you're taking to educate us all, and we look forward to hearing many more presentations from you and the members of your team. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, we're on agenda item C1. Will you please read the agenda item for us?
Resolution appointing council member to school building committee.
Thank you. I am nominating Mrs. Kimberly Shockley to represent the council on the committee. She'll replace former member Greg LeBoissonniere on the committee. Do I have a second?
I would like to second that nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Cody. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Ludwig, question?
Just a congratulations. I know that you've been an advocate on that side, so I look forward to some of the information you bring back.
Very much. It's a really exciting group to be able to join. So thank you very much, President Dixon.
We need to have the roll call vote just to make it official. Okay, roll call vote, please. Then you can congratulate her again.
Ian Dixon,
Yes?
Jennifer Ludwig,
Yes.
James LeBlanc,
Yes.
Gary Cody,
Yes.
Kimberly Shockley.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, Mrs. Shockley. I know you've been attending meetings of the committee, so you're getting up to speed very quickly. So I hope you enjoy being on the committee. There were 2 council members on the committee, and I am the second person. I've been on it since the inception. Greatly enjoyed being a participant. Madam Clerk, would you read the next resolution, C2?
Resolution appointing Edward Warzycha as interim acting town manager for 6 months.
Okay, would you read the complete resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the town council of the town of Coventry hereby approves the reappointment of Edward Warzycha as interim acting town manager for 6 months. A weekly stipend of $932.40 will continue to be added to his current MIS director compensation. Total compensation to equal the town manager's budgeted salary.
Thank you. By charter, we can appoint and reappoint a person as an interim or acting town manager for 6 months. By our newly approved charter amendment, we are required to have an active search. We do have an active search for a town manager, and we expect to have our consultant, Bernard Lynch from Community Paradigm Associates from Plymouth, Massachusetts, to present us with resumes from interested candidates immediately after the new year. Do I have a motion to reappoint Mr. Warzycha as interim acting town manager for 6 months?
Madam President, I would be glad to make the motion to reappoint Mr. Warzycha as interim town manager for the next 6 months.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Ian Dixon,
Yes?
Jennifer Ludwig,
Yes.
James LeBlanc,
Yes.
Gary Cody,
Yes.
Kimberly Shockley.
Yes.
The motion passes. Mr. Warzycha, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We're happy to have you. We're certainly happy to have you with us. How long has it been right now? With us?
Well, the official, after Steve left, this puts me into going towards year 3. but it's almost 3 years since Graham left, and I was doing it in the beginning of that. So pretty much close to 3 years as interim. I think I'm the world's longest, oldest interim.
Well, you may be the longest, but we're not going to add the word oldest to it, okay? Okay, next. Next resolution, the C3. Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution?
Discussion on contract for interim acting town manager once a permanent town manager is appointed.
Thank you. I have submitted this agenda item. Our interim town manager does not have a contract. Our town managers have always had contracts, so there is a precedence in having a contract with our interim town manager, who has been with us over 3 years in his present role. This agenda item is to determine if providing a contract is desirable. It is not to determine the contract terms. If desirable, we as a council will have our legal counsel draw up a draft contract for the town council's deliberation during a future executive session. I am requesting that the interim town manager have a contract in order to ensure continuity of operations once we have a new manager. This will be a limited term or a limited time contract. Mr. Warzycha will speed up the transition to our community and its issues with the new town manager by providing training and orientation. He will also continue to work on projects that the town council assigns. In his role, he will report to the council, not the new manager. Next, when we interviewed the last group of candidates, I noted that even the candidates from the smallest towns had deputies or administrative staff. We know that candidates do research on a town, listen to council meetings, and determine if the community is even one in which they want to work. By having our interim town manager have a contract, we are saying to the candidates we are willing to invest in the right candidate, and we will provide an experienced person during the transition. So I'll now open this up to discussion as to whether we want to offer a contract to Mr. Warzycha. Mrs. Shockley.
So if we were to have a contract, how would that work with already having a charter resolution concerning an interim town manager? So that's my first question.
The contract would address the transition from acting town manager to some other title, which he would have when he is working with the new town manager. So there'd be a transition clause in it.
So I guess I also want to go outside of our current situation, where possibly we would have an interim town manager who is not in his 5th or 6th appointment to said position. So what if I just worry if we have someone contractually obligated to stay, the contract should also read, we don't have to have them stay.
Correct. That would be something that we would ask our legal counsel to consider to put into a draft. This would be a limited time, perhaps maybe it's only 1 or 2 years, and it could be something in which we as a town council could decide that after 6 months it would be enough time. It depends on who we bring in, how experienced this person is, and what they need to do. And we also have a lot of very complex projects going on, as you well know, and we need some expertise, such as the whole sewer management plan. And it would be very difficult for someone, I'm saying it's very difficult for someone new to come into our town, take care of the operations of the town, learn about our town, learn about working with the town council, and be able to immediately tackle some of these projects that we don't want to slide immediately. We want to have them continue to be worked on.
So this would just be for having a contract for Ed,
Yes.
not for possibly a future interim town manager.
Correct.
Okay.
Madam President,
Cody.
is there any flavor amongst the council to, in Ed's case, and to address Mrs. Shockley's concerns moving forward, to create an assistant town manager's position for Ed to move into once a new town manager is found. And to keep that assistant town manager's position, in case we ever end up in this situation again, we could appoint our assistant town manager as the interim town manager, who he could then apply for the job full-time, or we could go with a search organization such as we are now. But I think it would create some continuity. It would, and it would create some history.
We do not have in our charter, there's nothing in our charter that calls occasions for that position, and we could vet the person and assign it. Once we see how this works, we can then, as a council, but
Agreed.
it's certainly an option to consider for the future.
Current charter allows the town manager to participate in town